Thank you for your time today. In today's presentation, I would like to share with you a 125-year journey through United States $5 stamps. Some examples of my first day of issue covers. And some interesting historical tidbits. This image of Columbus is the one most associated with the 1893 World's Fair. The $5 stamp features the figures of Liberty, on Columbus' left, and America on his right. In 1893, the $5 face value was equal to several $100s in today's wages. The issue quantity was low to meet the predicted demand, only 21,844 of them were sold. The dedication ceremonies and parade for the Columbian Exposition World's Fair in Chicago were held on October 21, 1892, but the fairgrounds were not actually open to the public until May 1, 1893. Significant firsts at the fair included the first U.S. commemorative coins and the introduction of Cracker Jacks, Quaker Oats, and shredded wheat. The U.S. Post Office Department also issued its first commemorative stamps ever, the highly sought-after Columbians. 98 years later, this is one of a set of 6 souvenir sheets, issued to celebrate the 500th anniversary of the voyages of Columbus to the New World. The stamps were created from the same genuine dies as the original stamps. Also pictured on the right, a ticket to the exposition. John Marshall was an American politician and lawyer who served as the 4th Chief Justice of the United States, from 1801 to 1835. This stamp is the key to owning a complete set of 1894 Bureau issue stamps. It was issued in low quantities, only 6,251, and sold for a price that exceeded many weekly salaries. Dealers who might have bought this stamp, hoping it would quickly rise in value, had just been disappointed by lackluster sales of the $5 Columbian stamp. As a result, very few were sold, and even fewer are available for collectors today. A limited quantity of $5 Marshall stamps, printed on watermarked paper, was issued on August 16, 1895. Many of the stamps were used to frank mail to Europe. Color is uniform throughout, suggesting the entire run of 26,965 were produced in one printing. Some 100 are known in perforate. They were replaced by the $5 series of 1902 stamp, on June 5, 1903. In 1917, United States citizens began sending packages to war-torn Russia. Demand for high-value stamps rose. At the very same time the inventory of $2 and $5 series of 1902-03 stamps was nearly depleted. This stamp was used to send valuable Liberty Bond shipments, and also to pay for fund transfers between postal departments. The post office did not have time to prepare new designs to meet the need, so the series of 1902 master dies were used for the $2 Madison and $5 Marshall issues. The original plates and transfer rollers had already been destroyed. The only differences between the 1902 and 1917 issues were that the earlier stamp was perf 12 and printed on double watermarked paper. The 1917 issues were perf 10, on watermarked paper. Also, the 1917 stamp is a lighter shade of green. Benjamin Franklin was a leading writer, printer, political philosopher, politician, Freemason, postmaster, scientist, inventor, humorist, civic activist, statesman, and diplomat. Lack of funds and materials during the war caused the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to experiment with various printing methods. In addition to the rotary press, the new offset printing method was tried. Inability to obtain the materials from Germany to produce quality ink resulted in the use of inferior inks. These inks, which contained grit, were abrasive and had a tendency to wear out the plates faster. The average life of a plate was 10 days, and they were wearing out faster than the Bureau could make them. Besides reducing the wear and tear on the plates, offset printing was advantageous because plates could be made much quicker. The Statue of Freedom, designed by Thomas Crawford, is situated at the top of the U.S. Capitol Dome in Washington, D.C. Crawford's statue is based on the Roman goddess of liberty and freedom, Libertas. Originally called Freedom Triumphant in War and Peace, Freedom carries a sword, laurel wreath, and shield with the U.S. coat of arms. The sculpture was also the basis for the design of the Statue of Liberty. Although the nation was at war and resources were in short supply, President Abraham Lincoln insisted work continue on the U.S. Capitol Dome. On December 2, 1863, the Statue of Freedom's final sections were raised to a 35-gun salute. The statue was clearly visible from nearby Virginia, the heart of the Confederate States of America. Of course, this is not a real first day of issue cover. If you did have the real first day cover from March 20, 1923, it would have a catalog value over $30,000. As America's 30th president, Calvin Coolidge demonstrated his determination to preserve the old moral and economic precepts of frugality, amid the material prosperity which many Americans were enjoying during the 1920s era. Coolidge was the first president to appear in a talking newsreel. He enjoyed making people laugh, but was serious when the situation called for it. The image of Alexander Hamilton on this stamp is based on a painting by John Trumbull. This stamp is generally considered one of the most beautiful U.S. portrait stamps of the 1900s. It was also one of the last U.S. stamps printed on the flat plate press. Due to its high face value, it was used primarily on registered mail, typically to mail money between small post offices and Federal Reserve banks. Longtime acquaintances during the fight for independence, Hamilton and Vice President Aaron Burr later became bitter political rivals. 19-year-old Philip Hamilton challenged a Burr supporter to a duel, after the supporter insulted his father's honor in 1801. Philip Hamilton died of injuries he suffered during the duel, which was held in Weehawken, New Jersey. 3 years later, Burr killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel in exactly the same location with the same pistol used to kill Hamilton's son. John Bassett Moore was an American lawyer and authority on international law. Moore was a State Department official and a professor at Columbia University. He is best remembered as a judge of the Permanent Court of International Justice, from 1921 to 1938. He was the first American judge to sit on that judicial body. One of 4 stamps from 1979, depicting light sources from throughout our country's history, issued to serve as a reminder that America is a shining beacon of liberty. This lantern was used by railroad conductors around 1850. Here is the first day cover with the stamp designer's autograph. A writer of fiction about the American West, Bret Harte's stories centered around his life in California. Capturing the characteristics and speech of the gold miners, gamblers, and prostitutes like no other writer, his style of local color writing brought him instant success. Today, his tales are considered American classics. This stamp was in use for 24 years before replacement. George Washington has been featured on more U.S. stamps than anyone else in history, 228 times. The placement of Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill may be a historical irony. As president, he vehemently opposed both the national bank and paper money. In his farewell address to the nation, he cautioned the public about paper money. I was able to buy this plate block at face value in 2018, shortly before the newest $5 stamp was issued. George Washington's portrait was reversed on the stamp so that he would face the same direction as Andrew Jackson. One of my favorite first day covers, featuring the $5 stamp and other 1-cent stamps, and including the portraits of the homes of the presidents. The 2018 $1, $2, and $5 Statue of Freedom stamps were the first U.S. postage stamps to feature optically variable ink. This ink can be seen on the stamp's denomination number, and appears to change from green to gold when tilted. In review, today I shared with you a 125-year journey through U.S. $5 stamps. Some examples of my first day of issue covers, and one fictitious example. And some interesting historical, or hysterical, depending on your perspective, tidbits. If you have any questions or comments, please be sure to leave them in the space below the video. Thanks for your time today.